Okay, Kitvach, we're up to Daf Ayin Gimel, and the Mishnah. This is again a very Yesodistic Mishnah in Dinei Yayin Nesech. So what I plan to do is do the Mishnah. I found a very interesting Taisvis, and I'd like to trace the Taisvis through Halacha. Says the Mishnah, Yayin Nesech Asa ve'oisa b'chol shehu. Yayin Nesech is Asa ve'oiser, and an As is b'chol shehu. Guys, a very, very interesting Bala Ma'or. What's the difference between Mashahu and Kol Shahu? Right? To the shyness, it's Asas bin Mashahu or be Kol Shahu. When it says Mashahu, it's going on the Davha Asa. Mashu is going on the thing that is making the Issa. Kol Shahu is the Heter. The Geshmak of Shak, guys. Listen what it's saying. Yayin Nesech, Asar, it asas, and not only does it asa, ve'oisa b'chol shehu, even no matter what it falls into it, b'chol shehu, it's going to asar it. That's the pshat, the beautiful pshat. Yayin b'yayin, whether it's yayin nesech into yayin heta, umayim, let's say they libated the nisach of mayim to avodah Zorah, b'mayim b'chol shehu. So the share would be b'chol shehu. Whatever the heter is, it's gonna asa b'kol shehu. Whatever the isser is, it's gonna asa the heter b'kol shehu. However, that's yayin b'yayin and yayin b'mayim. What about mayim b'mayim and yayin b'yayin? What about yayin b'mayim and mayim b'yayin? You have yayin nesech that falls into heter water, or you have mayim nesech that falls into heter yayin. What would the din be over there? Then it's been noisein tam. Then it's noisein tam, guys. When we say noisein tam, we mean shishim. In other words, so if you'd have shishim keneged, it would be asa. So now it's geshmak. The other asa is b'kol shehu. No matter what you have in the heter, it's asa. But when it's b'noisein tam, then the shir is shishim. Zeh klal. Here's our rule: mayim kol min b'minoi b'mashahu. Min b'minoi asis b'mashahu. Now mashahu is going on the daba that asis. And shaloi b'minoi b'noisein tam. And if a min falls in shaloi b'nisain, is b'noisein tam. Now, so this, let's start off, this din in yayin nesech, that it ases b'kol shehu, is this a din limited to yayin nesech, or would it go ahead and be in addition to stam yenam? We spoke out that there are different, yayin nesech is yayin that was nisnasech to avodah Zorah. Stam yenam means stam, a guy owns it. They were goys the stam yenam at the yayin nesech. Does this din carry over to what? To the isser of b'chol shehu? That's the question. Okay, so let's see Tosfos. Yayin b'yayin u'mayim b'mayim b'mashahu. Pirish Rabbeinu tam dafka yayin nesech mamish shenisnasech la'avodas kechovim hu dahavi b'mashahu. Only that with asa b'mashahu. Avol stam yenam, that's b'shishim. Stam yenam would be the share of shishim. So if you fall stam yenam into what? Into mayim, right? The share is gonna be shishim. It's not gonna be what? I guess yayin stam b'yenam, it would be, the share would be shishim. V'chein magoy b'kechavim. Even what b'magoy b'kechavim, wine that a guy touched, right? That would be similar. Because why? Because it's similar to mayim. We're going to go ahead and say the b'mayim mayri. B'mayim sheyidush and it's not by this kechavim. So how does Rabbeinu Tam know this? How does Rabbeinu Tam know this? Guys, is there anything called stam mayim? There's nothing in the guys. Listen, stam mayim. A guy owns Poland Springs. Can you drink it? Of course you can drink it, right? There's no stam mayim. So when the Mishnah says mayim that's asa, what kind of mayim are we speaking about? Mayim that was yunisnasech mamish to the avodah Zorah. So the yayin that we're under discussion is the same as mayim. Just like mayim means mayim shenisnasku and not stam mayim, so too the yayin that we're discussing is yayin nesech mamish and not stam yenam. That is what the Rabbeinu Tam's raya is. The ibis stam mayim leka isa the kabasei ketani. Yayin sheyiduah shenisnasek avodas kechavim. Abba stam yenam havi b'shishim afilu min b'minoi. Stam yenam is shishim afilu min b'minoi. So in other words, in our Mishnah, mayim Yayin b'mayim, that's b'shishim. Yayin b'yayin is b'kol shehu. Mayim b'mayim is kol shehu. Mayim b'yayin is shishim. That's provided it's yayin nesech. Masha'en kain, if it's stam yainam, says afilu yayin b'yayin would be shishim. That you would be mishai b'shishim. Right? K'may kol she isurim shebetayra. On that, let's skip down a second. V'oid omeri, says the Ri. Da'afilu im nafshcha loimer, the stam yainam b'mashahu. Even if you're going to say, not like Rabbeinu Tam, that stam yain is also b'mashahu, and not shishim, afilu hochi have a stam yainam bizman hazeh b'shishim. Even if you're going to say in the time of the Gemara, it was what? It was b'mashahu stam yainam, that was in that time. But in the Middle Ages, when this was written, this Tosfos, at that time period, it's b'shishim. They were experts in a getchkes. The Shaykh Niso Chachmiru b'stam yenam la'Yisrael. Kmo yayin nesach mamish. Hilkach linyan bitul kishari surim dami ubatul b'shishim kmo b'shari surim. We began the daf, if you remember, when we began Avodah Zorah, long time ago, and we spoke about why bisman hazeh there's no din of biyom edom, right? And we said bisman hazeh they're not over the Avodah Zorah. They're not over the Avodah Zorah bisman hazeh, right? So carrying that along, says the Ri, even if you're going to say not like Rabbeinu Tam, even if you say in the time of the Gemara that stam yenom was b'mashahu like yayin nesech, that was then. But now that they're not experts in Avodah Zorah, stam yenom, there's nothing to be geyser to, and therefore will be b'shishim. Therefore will be b'shishim. That's what Tosfos says. So we have Shitas Rabbeinu Tam, and we have the Ri telling us that what? That even if you're going to disagree with Rabbeinu Tam, bisman is that things are different. Okay, I found that interesting. Let's see the halacha. Okay, there's a few halachas in here. Let's see if this is in Kuf Lamed Dalid, Yeridea, guys. Yeridea, Kuf Lamed Dalid, Sif Beis. Yain she'ena asa ela b'shtiya, meaning it's mutter b'hana, it's only asa to drink. Eina oisa ela b'shishim. It's only going to asa b'shishim. Nisarev stam yenam b'yayin mutter, hariseh asa b'kol shehu. That is not like Tosfos, guys. Here it is. It's not like Rabbeinu Tam. Nisarev stam yenam b'yayin. If stam yenam gets mixed up, b'yayin mutter, in mutter dika wine, yayin b'yayin, what did Rabbeinu Tam say? Shishim, harizeh asa b'kol shehu. It's going to asa b'kol shehu b'shtiya. However, it's not asa b'ano, you can sell it. So clearly the mechaber is not passing like Rabbeinu Tam. However, if you skip to the bottom of this Ramah, going down, let me see if I can go ahead and get this a little right. So this is the Ramah. Says the Ramah, V'yesh oimim, D'chol stam yenom bizman hazeh, botul b'shishim. All stam yenom in our day and age, the Ramah was living in the 16th century, so Kol Shekain in the 21st century, right? Botul b'shishim, not b'mashahu. V'chein noying l'hakol, it's being we're noying to be mekel, uv'mokum d'nesara v'al yedei nitzach chibo. Okay, so clearly, we're passing, the Ramah is passing like the Ri. The Ri who said, Bizman Azeh, Stam Yenom is what? Is B'shishim. That's how he's passing. So this Tosfos disagrees with Rabbeinu Tam, in theory, but that was the time of the Gemara it disagrees. In the time of now, in the time of Rabbeinu, of the Ri, which was in the Middle Ages, in the 12th, 13th century, right? Now, it's b'shishim. That's the stam yenim is different than yayin nesech. Okay, I thought that was okay. Gishmak. Let's begin. Hiyasa Rav Dimi, when Rav Dimi came from Bavel, from Eretz Yisrael, Amar Rav Yochanan, he said in the name of Yochanan, Hamaori yayin nesech, you're pouring yayin nesech, mechavius libar. Now, so you have wine that's asa, guys, that's going into a bar that's muta. Afilu kolayom kula, even if you're pouring it in the whole day, rishain bottle. As it falls in, whatever falls in is being bottled into what? Into the pit. and it's going to be mutter bahana. Look at Rashi, not b'shtia. Rashi says shenafel bottle biyayin kosher shebebar umutter bahana. Be medayik guys, not shtia, mutter bahana. Okay, so therefore, this is Rav Dimi's din, that it falls in a little bit at a time. It's going to be mutter bahana. Okay. Tanan, I'm going to ask Rav Dimi from our Mishnah. Tanan, yayinesech asar v'oise b'chol shehu. Now, fellas, when it says asar b'chol shehu, there's no bittul. Guys, let's get the terminology down. It's a difficult daf if you don't. When it says that asas b'chol shehu, I mean there's no bittul, because it's falling in, and right away it asas, so there's no bittul. So when our Mishnah says it asas b'kol shehu, and if it's going to be speaking where it's yayin nesech going into yayin mutter, that will be problematic to Rav Dimi. The Amori Rav Dimi can't argue on our Mishnah. So if our Mishnah is speaking about A, yayin nesech, falling into B, yayin that's mutter, and it's asa b'kol shehu, then obviously it didn't become batal. Obviously it didn't become batal. Says the Gemara. My love the konafel isur legav hetera, the same case what of Rav Dimi, and nonetheless it says it's asa b'kol shehu, kashan Rav Dimi who says it's batal. Says Malay, the konafel hetera legav isura, it's speaking where it's mutter wine falling into asa wine. If it was asa wine falling into mutter wine, it would be batal. It's speaking about mutter wine falling into asa wine. So as soon as mutter wine falls into asa wine, it's going to be what? It's going to be asa. Toshma, yayin b'mayim b'noisin tam. Now, noisin tam means that what? That it's batal. So now you have my love the konafel chamra di surah de maya de hetera. So according to Rav Dimi, fellas, if you have wine that's usher falling into mayim that's mutter, it should be what? It should be batal. As long as the is falling into the heter, it should be batal. Our Mishnah says what? B'noisin tam, that you have to memvatal it. Says the Gemara, the kanafel chamra de hetera l'maya di surah. The same teretz. In the first case, it's speaking yayin heter falling into mayim asar. In yayin asar, here it's speaking about mayim. That's mayim that is chamra, that is muta falling into mayim that's asar. So, guys, going back to the Mishnah, we asked on Rav Dimi from the Mishnah. We asked from case number 1. Yayin b'mayim is b'kol shehu. Yayin b'yayin is kol shehu, and we wanted to say it's issa to heta. No, it's heta to issa. Now we're asking to continue on the Mishnah. Yayin b'mayim, it's what b'noisin tam. Isn't it not yayin the issa umayim the hetera, and it's not batal because you need noisin tam? And the answer is no. It's speaking again. It's speaking about what? It's speaking about heta falling into the issa. So now, guys, the fear keep on going in the Mishnah. If you're telling me this case of mayim is mayim b'yayin is speaking about yayin b'mayim is speaking about mutter the heter, so mayim b'yayin must be speaking about what? It must be speaking about issa to heter, because you're telling me that it's mayim that's asa. Guys, again, one more time. Yayin b'mayim, what does that mean? Yayin that is yayin that's mutter, that's falling into mayim that's asa. Good. So now we've established that the Mishnah is speaking about asa d'kamayim. Good. What's the next case? Umayim biyayin. So it's going to be speaking about asa mayim into heta dika yayin. What would Rav Dimi say in that case? It's batal, right? The is going into the heta. If the Reisha is speaking about mayim, that's what. If mayim that is asa, it must be the safest also speaking about mayim that's asa. And what does it say? Issa teheta noisin tam. It doesn't say batal. Kashan Rav Dimi. Let's see it inside. I just gave you a foreshadow. Umidaresha b'mayim di surah. When the Reisha is speaking about the yayin's mutta and the mayim's asa, seifanami b'mayim di surah. Right. The safe is also speaking about when the water falls into the yayin, and that's speaking about what? Mayim di surah. And nonetheless, it says what? Ktani Sefer Mayim B'Yayim B'Naisin Tam Kashan Rav Dimi. Okay, so if I double talk to you until now, let's get the last case. Okay, Rav Dimi says in order to batal, it's issa to heta. If it's heta to issa, not. we've proven l'chayra that mayim into yayin is issa teheta, because the first case of mayim was issa. So this also means mayim de issa. And Memela says nice in time. This slugs up Rav Dimi. On that the Gemara answers Amalach Rav Dimi kula mestisan hetera l'gavi surah. The whole Mishnah, don't get caught up into mayim being the same way. The Mishnah is right. The Mishnah what is speaking. The Mishnah is speaking. The kanafal chamer de teira l'maya di surah. Say for the kanafal maya de teira l'chamer di surah. In other words, don't say that the mayim has to be the same case. It's always the same. The Mishnah heta issa heta issa heta issa, regardless of what one is going into the other. Okay, guys, eye contact. Let's go through Rav Dimi's din. Says Rav Dimi, if you have issa falling into heta, it's going to be batal. We asked from the Mishnah because you want to say the Mishnah has to be speaking also. No, the Mishnah is only speaking about heta falling into issa. I said my din by issa falling into heta. That's what he said. Okay, so let's see Rashi, guys. I'm picking choosing Rashi. Again, it's not an easy daf. Amalach of Dimi kulam astisan heteru begavi surah. Says Rashi. V'reisha mayim di surah. V'seifa mayim de heteru. In other words, you thought the mayim has to be the same. No, the whole mitzias of the Mishnah is issa heta, issa heta, issa heta. Ve'ein halacha Rav Dimi. The halacha is not like Rav Dimi. Shari bo Reb Yitzchak, as we're going to see in a second, v'hichmir. Bo Ravin v'hichmir. L'kamon paskin on yayin esech b'minoi b'mashahu. Yayin esech b'minoi, when it falls into minoi, it asks b'mashahu, and it's not batal. Okay, so now we're going to see Reb Yitzchak and Ravin. Okay, so that's all you have to know. Baruch Hashem. Says the Gemara Vaita. Kiyas Reb Yitzchak bar Yosef. When Reb Yitzchak bar Yosef came, Rabbi Yochanan, he said in the name of Rabbi Yochanan. He came up from Eretz Yisrael. He said in the name of Rabbi Yochanan, Hama'ora yayin nesech mitzirtzir cotton lebar. If someone is pouring yayin nesech from a small kli into a bar, afilu kolayam kula, rishain batal. Even if he's doing it the whole day, the rishain's batal. So when you hear this, you says, doesn't that sound exactly the Rav Dimi? Isn't that what Rav Dimi said? There's a big difference, guys. Right? V'dafka tzirtzu cotton deloy nafish amudeh. Its spout is not wide. Avochavias the nafish amuda loy. That's the difference, guys, between Rav Yitzchak and Rav Dimi. Rav Dimi said that even if it's a wide spout and you have a lot of going in simultaneously and very heavy, it's going to go ahead and be batal. Rav Yitzchak is saying dafka, guys, like this is drip, 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 drip. When you say drip, 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 then it's going to be what? Then it's going to be batal. That's the difference between the two. So when Rav Yitzchak Nafka argues on he's more machmed than Rav Dimi. Rav Dimi said even a whole bunch. He says the drip, drip. So that's the first chumrah. Now the second Ravin also doesn't like him. Chiyasa Ravin, Rabbi Yochanan, yayin nesech shenafal lebar, yayin nesech that falls into a bar, v'nafal sham kiton shel mayim, and it falls in there a flask of water. Now, guys, the key is that there's enough water to be mevatal the yayin nesech. Guys, so here's the case: you have a bar of kosher wine. You have yayin nesech falling in the bar. You have water falling into the bar. Yes, you got the case? If you're going to combine the two yainam, the water can't be mevatal it. If you keep them separate, the water could be mevatal the yayin nesech. Got it? If you're going to combine the yayin heter and yayin nesech, you don't have enough water for bittul. If you take away the yayin of kosher and it's only mana o mano, water versus yayin nesech, then you could do it. Good? So listen to this case. So you have yayin nesech fall into a bar of yayin kosher, and now a kitnu shalmayim royin es haheta will view the kosher wine kilu einoi, and if it's not there, v'hashar mayim rabin alav mevat lo yosai, right? And now the water that is there is going to go ahead and mevatel it. Fellas, you think there'd be a difference if the water falls in first before the mayim yayin nesech or after? Ki aser Rav Shmuel by Yehuda Rabbi Yochanan leishanu el shenafel kitin shalmayim tchila. So therefore you had the bittul. Avaloi nafel sham kitin shalmayim tchila. If it doesn't fall in, it falls in afterwards. Matzah minas minoi. You have the yayin heter find the yayin nesech, veneer, and it awakens it. Okay, so guys, listen to this case. This is the way. The first lashon. You have a pit of water of kosher wine. Pit of kosher wine. You have water falling in. Then you have yayin nesech falling in. So if you're going to combine the yayin esech and the yayin shel heter, the yayin that's mutter, you won't be mevatel it. If you keep them separate, you'll have bittul. Says we will keep it separate, provided one thing, that the water falls in before the yayin nesech falls in. If the order would be yayin nesech water, then it would not be. It would not be. Let's see Rashi. Tchila koidim yayin nesech, the chinafel yayin nesech. When the yayin esech falls in, the water is ready in the pit to be mevatel it. Right? The water ready is in the pit to be mevatel it. Good. I think I skipped the Rashi. I want to do the Rashi before. Royin esaheta kilo enu. We'll view the kosher wine like it's not there. We don't say harinesa kol yayin, that all the yayin became aser. Rabbi hayayin alamayim, and now you have a majority of wine over water. Ruba, because the cham is more. What do we say? The issa shenafal greda. We view that it only fell into issa. The water fell into issa. Misharinan. Ve'ika maya ruba, and now you have more water than wine. Alma polig ravin ad Rav Dimi. We see Ravin argues on Rav Dimi, because according to Rav Dimi, it's batal. Vashminan de maya hudim vatal chamra. Okay, guys, watch. Please watch me. Please look at me. Look at me. We said Rav Dimi's din, if Mayim of Issa goes into there, it's bottle, right? That's what he said. That's what we said. Clearly, Rabbi Yitzchak disagreed. Now Ravin's disagreeing. What's Rav saying? What's Rav's din? Ravin's din is the following. Mayim shel heter, yayin nesech, and Mayim. If he held that the yayin nesech falls in first, this won't be able to mevatel it. Obviously, that this yayin nesech is not bottle. What was Rav Dimi's din? Issa heta bottle. Issa heta bottle. What's Rav saying? The only way you're going to be mevatel the yayin nesech is with water. What happens if the water falls in afterwards, guys? Obviously, it's not going to be bottle. Why? Because now you combine the two. If you're combining the two, obviously, the yayin that was kosher wasn't mevatel the yayin of nesech. You're combining the two. 1 second. Why do I have to combine the two? Why don't we say the yayin that's in the bar is mevatel the yayin nesech? Isn't that Rav Dimi's din? L.E.C. he disagrees with Rav Dimi. Okay, so that's one nakuda. Now, what's the other nakuda? Why does it have to have the water there first? Because if you have yayin of heter, and you have water, and then the yayin esek falls in, so therefore it's already bottle. I mean, the water there was nothing there for the yayin to attach itself to. Says Rashi, Tchila, koidim yayin nesech. The chiyaf on the yayin nesech, ashkechu maya upatlua. The water that's in there is going to go ahead and be mevatel the yayin nesech. But if not, guys, if the water comes afterwards, we'll say matzah minas mino libesof veneer, and it awakens it. Kloimar nischazek, it's mischazek the yayin nesek. V'ni toisif isura, and it adds on to the issa that you don't have roiv water now. The rabbi yayin alamayim, and now you have what? More yayin than mayim. Okay, so what have we seen so far this evening? Let's chazariba. We have Rav Dimi's din yayin nesech falling to the yayin being mevatel. We have Rabbi Yitzchak Nafka disagreeing. It's only if small drips fall in, but a regular load that falls in not. And we have Ravin also being machmir. Says Ravin, if it falls in first, it's not bottle. And even though mayim falls in afterwards, and you have mayim to mevatel it, since it's going to combine with the yayin of heter, obviously the yayin heter wasn't mevatel it, so he disagrees with Rav Dimi. And derech agav, we hear a separate din, a din that matzah min esmino, it's a minayir, it wakes up itself and it combines together. However, if the water's in there first, guys, so what do you have? You have yayin, you have water, you have more water than yayin, and the water is going to go ahead and mevatel the yayin that's coming in. Okay, that's the statement of Ravin. Says the Gemara, Iked demasti lo amasnisan. There are those who learn this dialogue directly on the Mishnah, not Ravin coming up, but directly on the Mishnah. What does it say? Yayin biyayin kol shehu. In our Mishnah, it says Yayin biyayin is b'kol shehu. So it's not Rav is saying it. It's going directly on our Mishnah. Our Mishnah says Yayin biyayin is kol shehu. Amrav Shmuel by Yehuda, Amrav Yochanan, loy shanu el shloi nafal sham kitan shamayim. That's when is it kol shehu? If no water fell in. Aval nafal sham kitan shamayim. If water did fall in, aval nafal sham kitan shamayim. If water did fall in, royin es heta. We'll view the heta. Kila einai. We'll view the kosher wine like it's not there. V'hashar mayim, but Rabin alav mevatla. And the mayim then will go in and be mevatla the yayin nesech. Mevatla noisai. What's the difference if you learn the dialogue on our Mishnah directly or you learn the dialogue on Ravin? You don't need the water falling in there first. All it said was, if you go ahead and have water in that pit, and that water is einaminoy to the yayin nesech, it's going to be mevatlit, even if the water comes after the yayin nesech. That's if you learn it on the Mishnah. But the one who says on Ravin, you would need what? You would need that first. Again, the one who learned it on the Mishnah, it doesn't say anything about. It doesn't say anything. So guys, what? It's geschmack. You have yayin kasha, you have yayin esech falling in, and you have water falling in. Light learning it on Mishnah, it'll be mevatel the yayin esech. Light Ravin, it won't. How are we doing? Are we falling? We're good, guys. Guys, we're good. It's a lot of words. A lot of. Who am I talking to? Kind of bobblehead, something, anything? You're alive, guys. Are good.
You're talking to Newman. We're good.
Yeah, I see. I love to see your face, Nassan. You're with me. You're my barometer. Anyway, so you're all good. Baruch Hashem. Okay. Says the Gemara Vaita. Itmar. Yayin nesech shenafel lebar. Right. Yayin nesech falls into a bar. V'nafel sham kitan shamayim. So now, l'chayr, it's the same mitzias. You have yayin that's nesech falling into a bar that's yayin of kosher wine, and a kitan of mayim's falling in. Amma Chizkiya, says Chizkiya, higdilu be'isr, aser, higdilu be'hetamuta. What does that mean? Says Rashi, higdilu hamayim v'hayayin be'isr, shenafel yayin nesech b'soif. What does higdilu be'isr mean? It means that the last thing to fall in, we're going to go after the last thing. The last thing to fall in was yayin of isr, right? V'igdilu, then asa. We don't say royin es heta kilu einu. We don't go ahead and say the kosher wine that's in the pit like it's not there. The yayin esech that falls in connects to the yayin that's in the pit. And you don't have enough water to go ahead and be mevatel both. So you hear this. According to Chizki is arguing, he says, if you have yayin esech that falls in the pit with water, even if the water is there first, it doesn't make a difference. Higdilu be'issa, meaning if the issa falls in last, if the yayin esech falls in last, even though the water was there first. Guys, the water fell in before the yayin esech. It's still asa, because higdilu, it increased the volume of what's in the pit, be'isser, as a result of yayin of isser, it's asa. Amachizkiya, higdilu be'issa asa, higdilu be'heter. However, higdilu be'heta, that the yayin of heta fell in the end, not the water. The yayin heta fell in. Rashi, higdilu be'heta, shenafal yayin heta b'seif. Kvar botol yayin nesech b'mayim shamayim rabu olav, be'yos levadoi, u'mishevatel legamri shuvei nechoyz v'nir. So guys, look at me. You have over here yayin nesech in a pit. You now have water falling in. That water has more. It has a roiv over the yayin. at this point in time, what's the din? It's mutter. I mean, it's bottle. So when the yayin of heta falls in, it's mutter. Of course, the yayin of heta is falling into a neutral zone. That's a good line, right? It's falling into a neutral zone. It's been neutralized. It's been neutralized. If, guys, you have yayin of heter and water, and then the yayin nesach falls in, so the yayin nesach is going to find the yayin heter, and the water doesn't stand a chance because it's overcome by the more volume of yayin. If, however, you have yayin of nesach in the pit, the water falls in to be mevatel it, and then higdilu al yidei yayin heter, it's mutter. That's chiskiyas then. So, for all intents and purposes, what's chiskiyas saying? It depends what comes in last. If yayin nesach comes in last, it's asa. If yayin heter comes in last, it's mutter. That's what the Gemara assumes, that we're going to go after what came in last. Guys, you hear? The Gemara assumes we're going to go after the last dance, the last partner. Says the Gemara, Amalei Rav Yirmiyah leRebbi Zera, Lema Chizkiya of Rabbi Yochanan beplukta de Rabbi Eliezer of Rabbana Kamiflaki. Let's say the machlokes between Chizkiya and Rabbi Yochanan, I skipped. Rabbi Yochanan Amar Afilu Higdilu be'Islam Mutter. Guys, remind me at the end, I owe you a Mishnah. We didn't do a Mishnah. I owe you a Mishnah. I want to finish Shas. I don't want to have the Mishnah on my head. Please, somebody remind me at the end of the share. We have to go over a little Mishnah and a Gemara, okay? Now, Rabbi Yochanan says, Afilu Higdilu be'Islam Mutter. He says, even if what? Even if you have water in there first and the Issa comes in afterwards, he's going to say like Ravin. He's going to say like Ravin, that's Asa. Ravin said in his name. That's what he says. Okay. Amalei Rabbi Yirmiyah Rabbi Zera, Lema Chizkiya of Rabbi Yochanan, beplukta de Rebbe Elazar Rabbana Kamiflaki, Ditnan, Sa'or Shel Chulin, Bishel Truma. We had this earlier, if it sounds familiar. You have sourdough of Chulin, sourdough of Truma, Shenaf L'Tach Isid falls into dough. However, neither one has the ability to go ahead and leaven the dough. Together, yes, alone not. They come together and they leaven the dough. I go after the last one. So if the first one was what? Chulin and the last one was Truma, it's Truma. If the first one was Truma and the latter was what was Chulin, it's Chulin. That's, you go after the last thing. So Pashtus, the Gemara is going to want to say that Chizkiya holds like Rabbi Eliezer, you go after the last thing. The Chacham Moimim, Ben Shnaf Elisabeth Chila, Ben Besaif, Enu Asa Achehei Bay Kadei Hachmitz. And so therefore over here, since the Yayin Esech doesn't have the share of Yayin Esech, unless of course you have water in there, it's not going to be. Now, so that L'chayra is the Tzushtel. V'tizbra, V'om Rabaya, Loishanu Ela Shekodem Mesiluk, in Rabbi Eliezer. Where does Rabbi Eliezer go after the last? If you took away the dough of Truma, and the sar of Truma, and you just have the tam of it. But if you didn't take out the Truma, it's going to be asa, even though it comes last. So l'chayra, this has nothing to do with what comes last and what comes last. Chizkiya the Kaman. Then who would Chizkiya hold like? Right? If you don't, over here, guys, by Yayin Nesech, did you take it out? You didn't take it out. In other words, Rabbi Eliezer would hold that once you didn't take it out, you don't go after the last thing. So you have a problem. Chizkiya Kaman. He clearly doesn't hold like Rabbi Yochanan, because Rabbi Yochanan says you don't go after the last one. And even Rebbe Elazar doesn't go after the last one, because you only go after the last one when you remove the Issa. But by Yayin Esech, you didn't remove the Issa, so you're not going to go after the last one. So who does Chizkiya hold like? Elahacha b'royin kamiflagi. Over there, the machlokes is by royin. Machlokes between Chizkiya and Rabbi Yochanan is royin. How do you view it? Right? How do you view royin? Do you view royin as if it's there or not? In other words, like Chizkiya, we don't royin the kosher wine as if it's not there, and then we have the water being mevatel the yayin esech. We don't say that. Like Rabbi Yochanan, we do say that. That is the svaras hamachlokes. Guys, do we say the water is mevatel the wine of nesech? The only way to mevatel the yayin nesech is to get rid of the yayin kosher. How do you get rid of the yayin kosher? Royin, you view it as if it's not there. Guys, you with me? Again, together, Yayin Esech and Heter overcome the water. The water alone overcomes the Yayin Esech. The only way to do that is Royin as if the Yayin Heter is not there. Chizkiah obviously does not say Royin. Rabbi Yochanan does say Royin, but it has nothing to do with the Machlokes Rabbi Eliezer and Rabbi Yochanan. The Machlokes Rabbi Eliezer and the Chachamim was in Chachamim, not Rabbi Yochanan. Chachamim, Zev Goyrim. That was Machlokes Zev Goyrim. Do we say Zev Goyrim is also a mutter? Do we say Zev Goyrim? So since you had Isser, Truma, and Chulin, each one is causing the chaymitz. Says Rabbi Eliezer, if you're not masalik it, it's asa. Says the Chachamim, no, Zev Goyim is mutter, and therefore you're not going to have a problem. That was as far as Hamachlekes, not whether you go after the last one, because again, the Issa is still there. Only Rabbi Eliezer goes after the last one if you take out the Issa. If you don't take off the Issa, what's the Svaras HaMachlokes? So guys, look at me. Good, look at me. We wanted to say the Machlokes between Rabbi Eliezer and the Chachamim, but between Chizkiah and Rabbi Yochanan is the same Machlokes between Rabbi Eliezer and the Chachamim. It's not true. This is the Svara of Chizkiah. What's the Svara of Chizkiah? I'll tell you the Svara of Chizkiah. Says Chizkiah, we don't say Royan. So as long as I have Yayin of Heter and Yayin of Isser in this pit together, we'll combine them. And now I don't have enough water to overcome them. We don't say Royan, that the Yayin kosher like it's not there. Says Rabbi Yochanan, no, we do say Royan. And we view the what? The Yayin Heter as if it's not there and comes along the water as Mavatal, the Yayin Esech. What's the Svaras HaMachlokes by what? By Rebbe Lazar and Chachamim? Nothing to do with this whatever. It's as far as Zev Goyrim. Here you have, alone they can't be machametz. Together they could. So if you remove it, then you go after the last one. If you don't remove it, Zeh, Truma, Zeh, Chulin, Goyrim, Asa. That's Rebbe Lazar. Chachamim, Zev Goyrim, Mutta. Shine. Very good. Okay, now, you're telling me Rabbi Yochanan holds of Royan, that we view the Isser, the Heter, as if it's not there. So it says the Gemara, Umi Islay Rabbi Yochanan Royan, does Rabbi Yochanan really hold of Royan? For boy mine Rav Asi mi Rabbi Yochanan, Rav Asi es Rabbi Yochanan, shtei kaisais. You have two kaisais, echad shel chulin, ve'echad shel truma, umazgon, and you dilute them. So you're diluting wine of truma and wine of chulin. Ve'irvin zeh bezeh, and they get mixed together. Mahu. Now, according to Rabbi Yochanan, if we say Royan, we should view the kosher, the chulin wine as if it's not there, and the water should now go ahead and be mavatal the truma. V'lei pashalei, and they weren't pashed it. So you see, you don't hold of Royan. Again, if you hold of Royan, just like we're going to say Royan, the yayin heter, if it's not there, and the water will be mevatel the yayin esech, so too we should view the water, the chulin, as if it's not there, and the water should overcome the truma, and we weren't paished it. And for the Gemara, may korelei pashalei. Initially they weren't paished the shayla, but slave pashalei that what he says Ryan. It manami Ravami Rav Yochanan Vimila Rav Asi Rav Yochanan base kaisais echad shel chulin ve'echad shel truma umazkin v'irvin zeh bezeh. Royan as a heter will view the chulin kilu einoi. V'ashar mayim robin alav mevatel nesay. And go ahead and be mevatel what the truma. So you see that what in the end we were pushed it. Okay, going not an easy bottom. Going back to the Mishnah. Look back to the Mishnah, guys. I ain't gimel and aleph. So we said the din yayin esech asav mashu min mayim biyayin is nice and tam. Zeh klal. This is the rule. Min b'mina b'mashu u'shaloi b'mina b'nice and tam. That's a rule. Now, when you have a rule, it comes to go ahead and what include something. So what's the rule coming to include? That's what the Gemara wants to know. So we brought this in earlier. Zeh klal min b'mina b'mashu u'shaloi b'mina b'nice and tam. Rabbi Shmuel Demet Travayu kol isurim shebetoira b'minon b'mashu. All these isurim b'toira are going to asa b'mina b'mashu. Min b'mina is going to be mashu. Shaloi b'mina is going to be b'nice and tam. Zeh klal. This is the rule. Lasui mai lasui kol shum shebetoira. Pirish. The din we saw in our Mishnah that said yayin nesech is not limited to yayin nesech. Just like yayin nesech min b'mina is b'mashu, so to all isurim b'mashu. Zeh klal min b'minas b'mashu. It's not limited to yayin nesach. It extends. That's Rabbi Shmuel. Rabbi Shlakish Rabbi Yochanan Dami Shavayu Kol Isun Shebetoira Bein B'minon Bein Shaloi B'minon B'Noisin Tam. Kol Isun Shebetoira Bein B'minon, guys. Bein B'minon Bein Shaloi B'minon B'Noisin Tam. In other words, Min B'minoi is also B'Noisin Tam. This is what we paskin. Chutz mi Tevel v'Yayin Nesach, with the exception of Tevel and Yayin Nesach. B'minon b'mashahu. Right? Ushaloi b'minon b'noisein tam. Right? Ushaloi b'minon b'noisein tam. Okay? That's the... Good. So this din is limited to yayin esech, and therefore zeh klal l'suye tevel. Okay, guys, look at me. A Mishnah said a din. Min b'minoi b'mashahu. By yayin esech. What's the din kol Torah kula? Says Rabbi Shmuel the same din. And that's what the rule of the Mishnah is coming to include. Just like min b'minoi by yayin esech b'mashahu, so to min b'minoi b'kol Torah kula is b'mashahu. Ein amina is b'naisin tam. Says Rabbi Yochanan Rish Lakish, this din is unique to two places. Yayin nesech, and the zeh klal is the second place. That's tevel. If you have tevel, it gets mixed. B'minoi, it's b'mashahu. But any other iser, whether it's einay minoi or even minoi, min b'minoi is going to be b'naisin tam. It's going to be b'shishim. Even minoi. That's what they're saying. Okay. Tanya Kabasi, the Rabbi Shmuel. Kol isun sheb Tanya was Rabbi Yochanan Reish Lakish. Tanya was Rabbi Shmuel. Kol isun sheb Torah b'minon b'mashahu. That's pretty much exactly like Rabbi Shmuel. Shalei b'minon b'naisin tam. Tanya was Rabbi Yochanan Reish Lakish. Kol isun sheb Torah bein b'minon, whether it's minon bein shalei b'minon b'naisin tam chutz mitevel v'yayin nesech b'minon b'mashahu shalei b'minon b'naisin tam. So the only two places this Brisa says openly is yayin esech and tevel. Okay, what's the reason these are different than any other place? Why is yayin esech and tevel different than kol Torah kula? Bishlem yayin esech mishum chumra davar kechavim. Very yayin esech because of the chumra avodah Zorah. That's why it's going to be what asa. It's going to be asa b'kol shehu. Good. El tevel my timer tevel. What's the reason? Tevel. What's the reason that it's asa b'kol shehu? Keheteroi. Just like you go ahead and mata tevel, so too tevel is going to asa. Kachi suroi. Keheteru kachi suroi. Doma Shmuel chita akas paiteres asakri. Guys, we midaraisa. If you take one kernel and take it off, that's truma. The Chachamim made a din. If a person is benevolent, it's 1/40th. If he's a regular, if he's cheap, it's 1/60th. The regular Joe is 1/50th of the crop. But midaraisa, it's what? It's one kernel. So just like a kernel pot, it makes it pata, a kernel makes it asa. Ki heterei kachi surah. That's the svara of tevel. V'tnan nami hacha. So you see that what the tevel asis b'mina b'mina. Okay, I owe you the
we said usher just for with tevel and yayin nesech. Is it bahana or just also, or just drinking? No,
okay. The Mishnah on ayin. Amid Beis, guys. The last Mishnah on the page I didn't do. I started mistakenly by Ayin Aleph, the Mishnah. So I owe you that Mishnah. Baruch Hashem, I remembered. Okay. By Leshes shenichlas le'ir b'shas shalom. A Beleshes is an invading army, and Rashi says shechayel al shem shemechapshin v'choisrim koril Beleshes. They go ahead and they look all over. You know, they're not just attacking, but they're going through everything. B'shas shalom, if it's a time of peace and they have time to go ahead and do what they want to do. Chavias psuchas asurais, chavias that are open will be asur because they're going to be menasechit. Stumais mutarais, and when they're asasim, they're mutar because they didn't open it. B'shas milchama, however, it's a time of war and they're just going from place to place quickly. Elu ve'elu mutaris. Even open ones will be mutar. L'fi shein p'nai l'nasech they don't have time to be menasech. So again, if the war is on, they don't have time. Says the Gemara, Urimini Alish Yostira, Ir Shekavshu Charkum, an ear that is a surrounding army, a sieging army surrounds it and invades the city. Kol Kahenos Shebeseichei Psulois, any people that are married to Kahanim, they're asa. The halacha is that if a man is ma'anis a woman, a regular woman, she's mutter to her husband. If she's a bas kohen, if she's an eshes kohen, she's not. An eshes kohen, she's not. So therefore, she would not be permitted to her husband. So therefore, you see that what, even though it's a time of war, they're going to have time to do what they want to do. So we're zustelling the taiva for znus for the taiva of nesech, and the assumption of testira. You're telling me you don't have time for nesech, but they do have time for znus. So amari ein achinami lenasech ein penai libel yesh penai. For znus they'll always have time. To be honest, they'll always have time, but for yayin nesech not.